Hello and welcome to the writer's commentary for the motion picture NINER, a Kevin Neal Smith, Ezra Baker production of a Grant Pichla film, his debut film. My name is Eric Dickson, and if you haven't guessed by now, I am the screenwriter for NINER. Now, the question I get asked the most by people who've either read the screenplay or seen the film is, how did you come up with the name NINER? Is it supposed to have some kind of specific meaning? Now, I didn't know this, but if you Google search NINER, if you look it up on Wikipedia, it means somebody that loses in life. So in other words, it's like calling somebody a loser. I thought that was kind of fitting based on the character, but completely accidental. It was about 5 years ago. I met a man, I think his name was Steven NINER. I just remember thinking, man, what a cool name. That would make a really good movie. You know, at the time I had no idea what the movie was going to be about. I just really thought that was a cool name. I was going to make it my next screenplay. Now, the original story concept behind NINER was going to be about this cop who stops a liquor store robbery and accidentally shoots and kills another cop. NINER was originally a contest entry for the website Amazon Studios, who at the time was giving away $20,000 a month for best screenplay. And I think it was $100,000 for best test movie based on any screenplay listed on the website. So what every writer on the site was doing is they were taking their best script and rewriting them 5, 6 times, sometimes 7 or 8 times. In the case of NINER, 13 times. So the idea being that every month for about 13 months during the option period, you had the chance of becoming a finalist and winning a whole lot of money. Amazon Studios was useful in a whole lot of ways because you get so many suggestions from other writers on how to make your script better. And it's coming from the point of view of other writers, people that know what they're doing and have a good understanding of what makes a good movie. Now, this opening scene originally had our bad guys, Bobby, Jason, and Scotty, kind of busting into the house, kind of like Die Hard style, like Hans Gruber and his minions kind of walking in and giving this long-winded speech about how they're going to exact their revenge. It was kind of cool. I mean, there was some good dialogue and some good exchanges between the characters, but there's a couple problems with it. One, it went on for too long. Something like 6 or 7 pages of dialogue. And 2, it gave way too much of the plot away. So because of the suggestions of the other writers on Amazon, I was able to condense it all down to about 2 pages. Took out the dialogue, threw in some flashback shots of the birthday party, and made it more of a mystery. So the audience has to piece together what happened, how Abby ended up on the bathroom floor. So it looks better, plays better on screen, and it somehow makes it that much creepier that we didn't actually see the murders. We can only imagine what happened. So to me, that's a lot more effective than actually witnessing every little detail. So I kind of have to give credit to this opening scene, to those on Amazon who read and reviewed NINER, really supported the story and believed in it, and came up with some really great ideas for the film, or the script, I should say. I first saw Niner at the premiere screening opening night at Celebration Cinema in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, to a sold-out show. It was about 175 people, 180 people. So most people had no idea who I was, so it was pretty cool to just kind of sit back with my girlfriend and sit in the middle of the crowd and just watch everybody's reactions. It's really, really neat. So I'm happy to say that, they jumped in the right places, they laughed in the right places, and all the little things, little quirks in the story that I didn't think would work, just based on the script, they all seemed to be working. People really enjoyed it. So for the first time in like 3 years, I was finally able to just let go of this thing and put it in somebody else's hands, and quit obsessing over a script that I've been really obsessing over for the last 3 years. I was really concerned that this first scene between Raleigh and Carly wouldn't work, because it's two people in a car for about 5 pages of dialogue. So you get that whole talking heads thing that every filmmaker says that you should stay away from.
What did you have in mind?
But when I saw it, it worked great because it was a nice kind of quiet way to introduce these two characters. And it not only established who these people were right away, but it also established their relationship. She sort of doesn't trust him, and he doesn't talk about his job.
Funny.
It's really how Dave played the scene that made it really interesting. Just his eyes, the way the camera sits on his face, how he delivered the dialogue. It made you think that what he's telling Carly will be important later on in the story. To really get this sense of foreshadowing when he refuses to talk about TJ and his trip to the hospital, how they ended up at the hospital, what happened between these two characters. Did he beat this kid up? Something happened that he doesn't want to tell her about.
So why don't you tell me about it?
I hope this doesn't become a regular thing.
What's that?
So you also feel that Niner's really had his share of bad relationships because of his job, and that's taken a toll on him emotionally. It's made him tired.
Give me a break, okay?
So I really like how Dave played this scene, because that could have been, played an entirely different way, and the dialogue may not have worked otherwise. But he made it work.
Sometimes I have to get my hands dirty. You're a nurse, you know this already.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
And Katie was great in this scene too, because she played it a bit drunk. But she wasn't too over the top with it. It was just enough to show the audience that,
Got me figured out.
this could very well be her regular evening routine. She gets off work, has a few drinks, lets loose.
My number 3?
And I really thought Katie had a great understanding of who Carly was and her relationship with Niner,
What was that?
what that all boiled down to.
Yeah, you get this love-hate thing for cops.
So what I think is they get off work, have a few drinks, basically give each other a bunch of shit, and then they go have an angry screw afterwards.
They make you feel
And that's
safe,
basically
don't you?
it's basically their relationship up to this point.
Appreciate it, that makes you feel good.
So what was once kind of one of my least favorite scenes in the screenplay turned out to be one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And I really didn't think it would turn out as well as it did.
Not so sexy side of police work.
I also thought it was a nice kind of quiet transition from our opening scene, which was more loud, busy,
Start talking to patients like
lots of fast shots. So this was kind of a nice kind of a way to slow things down for a few minutes.
Really pissed you off?
I think it's a really, really well edited film. And I know Grant talked to some extent in his last making of segment that it is good to transition from a busy scene to a more quiet scene, because it gives us time to breathe. And we can take in,
Somebody to yell at after work.
take in more of everything we just saw in the previous scenes. So it gives the film a certain pace. And I know it allows the audience to stop and think about what they're watching, as opposed to constantly being stimulated and, seeing constant action, car chases, stuff blowing up, all that stuff that, you know, Hollywood's churning out every couple of weeks.
What do we have here?
And I think this scene is really a perfect example of that idea of how to have a smooth transition from one scene to the next. And again, it was just a great way to introduce these two characters in a relationship and bring Abby into the picture. It was really nice. I liked it.
You're gonna need stitches. We need to get her to the ER.
You're real lucky back there, young lady.
I think Grant has a really good understanding of how to shoot a low-budget film.
You're gonna catch a cold.
Now, if you look at this gas station scene, for example, it's shot in a way that you don't really notice what's going on behind these three characters.
Where are you coming from?
You're actually really focused on them.
I'm sure your folks are gonna want to know if you're okay.
So you don't see that they don't have enough extras to, you know, show people at the gas pumps, walking in and out of the store. You just get the feeling that it's the middle of the night, and it's a dark road, and there's nobody around.
I ran into your dance instructor the other day. She said she didn't.
It just comes down to good camera work and good acting. Particularly from Lindsay Chestnut here. If they didn't have a good actress for Abby, none of these scenes would work as well as they do. She really fills the frame whenever she's on screen. She's very convincing as well.
What's your name?
Go, Abby, now!
This is my friend Marvin. She's from Mars. I'm Bugs Bunny.
Can I speak with you in private?
You thinking what I'm thinking?
She's got scratches all over her legs, no shoes. She's distant, withdrawn. All the signs are there.
So here we have Raleigh and Carly
We get her to the hospital.
slowly figuring out that this girl was most likely raped or attacked.
Why don't you go back to the
Very quiet, distant, withdrawn, scratched up, bleeding. You know, it doesn't take a detective like NINER to figure out what happened here. But, turns out to be something else. Something a lot worse.
Yeah, I took you for a smoker. Like you guess. You know, my sister always says that people who smoke as much as me have to eat away at their souls. So I said, what would you know about it, you miserable bitch? We're gonna get you to a hospital. Get that cut on your head stitched up. Doctor's gonna ask you some questions. Starting with what happened. You can tell them or not tell them. Either way, they're gonna call your parents and then the cops. If you want to avoid all that, you can tell me what happened. Nobody else has to know. At least you'll have it off your chest.
There were 4 of them.
Who? Do you know their names?
They
killed them. All of them.
In the original draft of the script, Raleigh first meets Abby at the hospital, kind of by accident. He was there brings TJ in pretty much after kicking the crap out of him, brings him into the ER, gets him stitched up. Carly works on him. And there's a couple that brings Abby into the ER. They ended up finding her on the side of the road and picked her up and brought her to the hospital, and the cop just happens to be there, so they get him involved. But I know Grant had a lot of trouble finding a place that could double for a hospital, so he asked me to cut the ER from the script, right in the scene with the two of them in the car, and just cut straight to the farm. I also think Grant felt that it was a better way to get the story started a lot faster. I know the hospital scene was something like 8 or 9 pages, and it really slowed the momentum down that we first established with the beginning of the film. But it was a good call, so I really think the scene with the two of them in the car works a lot better.
I thought we weren't touching anything.
One thing that's instantly noticeable about Grant's direction is how he likes to keep the camera moving. And I think that's one thing we can both agree on. When shooting something as low budget as NINER, the more you move the camera and the more innovative your movie looks, the less distracted you are by the budget. You know, maybe some of the smaller details in the background that may not look as good shooting on, say, a tripod or just sitting still. So the moving camera gives your little movie kind of a larger-than-life quality. And I think Grant has a good understanding of that and utilized that idea of movement as much as he could with NINER. I like that little look that Dave gives when he picks up Abby's cell phone. Like he's trying not to react in front of Carly, but can't quite hide it either.
What the hell is going on here?
And Katie's reaction to that was perfect too. So again, this is another scene I was never sure of on page, but it turned out really great on the screen.
For a walk.
You know, another nod to these two really good actors.
Looks like someone's been doing some digging.
Oh, God, don't tell me that.
Still wet.
You did right by calling me first, Raleigh. Anyone else would have put the cuffs on you the minute they saw
Steve
you.
Berglund as Captain Hal Drydeck.
You're also under suspension and facing
Mr.
a-
Berglund is the director of the drama department at Central Michigan University.
With a gun strapped to your head.
It's one of my favorite characters and performances in the film. Probably is my favorite character next to NINER, of course.
This isn't IA poking a nose up your ass trying to see what you had for breakfast.
And this performance here is just a further reminder of what a joke my experience was in film school.
Catch a sniff of something in those trees and find
You know, I was in a
What am I
group of students that was mainly interested in seeing how many fart jokes they could fit into a 30-minute short film.
Doing a follow-up on a patient and stumbled on this.
Nobody was really the least bit serious. Now here you have one of the school's faculty not only participating in the project, but delivering a really good performance.
You're always someplace else when the shit
And you can tell that Steve loves and respects these students, and it's really obvious.
the nurse's statement.
And I'm really not used to seeing or being in this type of collaborative effort. And I can't tell you how great it was just
Hey,
to be included with such a great,
I know you
you know,
think
talented,
you're
humble
gonna
group of people.
make it right, but do me a favor. Stay out of this one for your own sake. I can't help you if your face keeps popping up in all the wrong places, Raleigh.
This is officially the worst date ever. Just saying.
We don't really want to be here right now. I'll take you home.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think I can be alone right now.
Yeah. Let's go.
This is nice of you, but I don't think I can eat.
Putting quite a hurt on that bottle. You shouldn't drink on an empty stomach. I don't want you passing out on me thinking I took advantage.
I should be home.
Now this back and forth between Niner and Carly at his apartment was really the biggest headache for me because it's so chock full of so many important plot details
Aren't you eating?
that it can't help but read on page like exposition. You know, it was always an issue for me because it seemed so
Thinking about Abby.
almost kind of contrived and forced. And I really could never picture
I don't know. Guess we'll have to wait.
any actor speaking these words and making them sound real. And I must have rewritten the scene about 24 times and it still felt like it didn't work. But again, it's another scene where I was pleasantly surprised with because of how, not only how it was shot, but the use of flashbacks, the music, the cutting back and forth between the past and the present. You actually get caught up in Dave's performance here as well. It's convincing enough that you really buy into his story. You know, if you have a lesser actor doing the same scene, the scene really could have been disastrous. You could have really shown the weaknesses of the writing and the script. But I just have to say, just from watching these last few scenes, that Katie probably has the hardest acting job here because she's a character that's really meant to react more than speak. Her main purpose in the story is to react to Niner. To react and be suspicious of him, to look suspicious. So every look, gesture, facial twitch, and whatever had to be really perfect in order to invest in her character. You have to be able to feel her suspicion for Niner. You have to kind of go on that journey with her. So I think she was just perfect for the part.
Stop! No! Please stop! It's not real. It's not real. Stop.
You want to hear the craziest part? Stupid son of a bitch used an airsoft gun. I kicked the shit out of this poor asshole over a BB gun and a couple $100 worth of oxy. Truth is, I did more damage to him than he could have ever done to her. So TJ and I came to an understanding. Tonight never happened.
And you were afraid he'd press charges?
So it took me about 3 times watching the movie to notice this little picture hanging behind Carly's head. It's not a picture, but a little plaque hanging on the wall. It says you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. And of course that comes up later on in the story, towards the end. Something that Grant used. So it's very symbolic. Yeah, there's so many little details just in the background, just little touches that Grant and Kevin threw in. Or I should say Caitlin and Aaron, who did the production design. But it takes like 4 or 5 views to actually pick up on all the richness of all the details and what you see in the background. And did a really great job as far as the production design.
See it parked in front of this building, engine running. And I could see him running up the staircase, so I run up behind him, just as he busts through the door. And I come to the door, gun drawn, ready to pop him one. And I see him screaming and tossing his girl around. And Something about her being with another guy. And I've got him. Dead bang from me to you. I've got him.
What did he do?
Nothing. Just stood there, staring at me.
What did you do?
Told him to turn around, grab the wall, spread him.
Did he?
No, he just stared at me with his drugged out eyes. I screamed at him, "Get on your knees, asshole."
And? What happened?
Opened the balcony door and jumped. 3 stories down, all the way to the ground. Broke every bone in his body. He ended up at ICU for about 3 weeks before he finally gave out.
That's crazy.
So this woman whose life I just saved tells the cops that I pushed him. After he puts his hands up and surrenders, of course.
Why would she do that?
Probably saw a lawsuit in it. Take away her husband. She thinks she can get a couple bucks from the city.
I'm so sorry.
Long story short, I'm awaiting a court date. A possible murder 2 conviction if I'm found guilty. That's it.
Okay, so it's taken me 3 times watching this movie to notice whose wallet that is sitting on the nightstand. Again, so many little details. Now, this cell phone bit coming up with Trent Wise's face on the screen played really great in the theater because you could hear people gasp and kind of laugh and react to it. It's almost like people didn't really see it coming. It was a nice little reveal in the film. So at this point, you know that NINER is somehow involved with this kid, but we just don't know how or why. And so our story begins. I've got to say, I always hated this scene in the script. It just never quite seemed to work. You know, it was supposed to be funny. It was supposed to show kind of NINER's how he operates, how he's undercover, how he plays different roles and characters. But, you know, I'm trying to write this funny stuff, and it just didn't seem real funny to me. But it turned out to be everybody's favorite scene in the whole movie. Really funny stuff here from Dave.
Do not have sex. Make out with your girl's cousin. Especially the one that she doesn't like. Oh, hey, is that your girl?
Dude,
Is she hot, dude?
get
Is she
off.
hot? All right. You want one?
No. I'm good, man.
Good for you. It's another one of my bad habits. What the hell are you doing out here, man? Your old lady kick you out too?
No, I'm just coming back from a party. Didn't feel too well.
Done my share of drinking on myself. Bad habit number 3. Hey, could go for another one though.
Yeah? Well, there's a bar. Right over there.
Oh yeah? Alright man, let's go. First round's on you. Oh, hey man, I don't see anything.
Okay, cut the bullshit, friend. Where is she?
Safe.
Where?
Cops know everything, Trent. You got no play here.
Bullshit. They don't know nothing. Nothing at all.
No, you were there. That's all that matters.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry, you want one?
No! Keep your hands up!
Alright. All you had to do was ask.
Well, this is me asking, smartass. No, keep them up. Where is she?
At the hospital. With the cops.
Who the hell are you?
I'm your best friend, Trent. Your only way out of this.
No, bullshit. You just want to put me away. You don't care what I have to say.
Okay, alright, take it easy now.
Shut up!
I really love this shot of Katie looking through the window. It's kind of confused look on her face when she notices Trent holding the gun. Another really nice panoramic widescreen POV shot through the window.
I did save her.
What was the plan? Just keep running? If Abby runs, they find her, they kill her just like you. If you truly care about this girl, turn yourself in. Get these assholes up. If you run, you got 2 choices. In the joint or in the dirt.
No. The cops, they won't listen to shit.
Coming for you. You need to make a decision.
I like this shot coming up of Carly looking through the window. Nice widescreen POV shot. See, it's just wide enough to get both characters. You got Trent's car, and then you have the police car slowly pulling up into frame. Nice and quiet, so you really see what Carly sees, what she feels, and you see it on her face. So by now she's figuring out what happened to that stolen cell phone back at Abby's house. At least that's what you're led to believe at this point.
You don't understand. I owed these guys. I owed them huge. And they didn't want money. They didn't want nothing I had to offer.
Sounds like you screwed these guys over pretty good.
You don't know the half of it.
Here's another really heavy dialogue scene that
Why don't you tell me about it?
may not have worked if it wasn't for the strong performance from Jordan Cantola as Trent Wise. I also think it's the best bit of acting by Dave Giles in probably the whole movie. It's really great.
Abby invited me to her sister's birthday party. Before I left, Bobby cornered me. Said the party would be perfect. Said get them all in one place at one time. Abby wouldn't be enough. He wouldn't be happy until everybody was dead.
Abby was a girl.
I couldn't go through with it, though. I couldn't let him hurt Abby.
Okay, so here we reveal a few more pieces of the puzzle.
Let's wait until they're all in one
Trent staring at the punch,
and then when
knowing that there's something wrong with the punch. We just don't know yet.
we decided it was either now or never.
Just nice, real nice use of flashbacks back and forth.
Doctored Abby's drink with some sleeping pills.
Nice little touch from Grant. I'm not sure that was in the original script or not. I think it was, but
She got dizzy and she excused herself to the bathroom. I went with her just
And here she goes, and that'll be the
make sure
last
she
that
was all the way out before I
her family will ever see her again, pretty much.
drove for Bobby and Jason.
Abby heads to the bathroom. Trent sneaks up behind her, makes sure that she's heading in the right direction. And I like this little touch here when he locks the door on his way out. Goes back to that little insert shot from the beginning of the film when Abby has to unlock the door before she can leave the bathroom.
These your friends, Trent? Richard!
Let's go.
Bobby saw Abby's sister on the couch next to her brother. Grabbed the sister, and a gun up to her head. While Jason and I, we tied up the others. He handed me this knife. He made her watch while we... The sick son of a bitch, he made me do it.
What happened to the sister?
He saved her for last. They did all this sick shit to her. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Why the sister, Trent? Why did they save her for last?
And here we introduce our bad guys.
I told Bobby
You got Braden Thompson
that Abby had
as
a
Bobby
big brother.
Vandenkemp. I believe that's
She was an old
Cody Cochran as Scott Perry. I could be wrong. Might be getting my actors mixed up.
Abby was knocked out in the other room.
And Chris Krause as Jason Farron.
I just let them think what they wanted to think.
All these guys did a really fantastic job.
What the hell did you call the cops, Trent?
I didn't have a choice. Bobby
Oh,
said...
bullshit! There's always a choice, Trent. What,
Of all the cast and crew, Braden was probably the most
Bobby in for some cake and ice cream?
friendly
What about our
and talkative.
siblings, Trent? You sold out an entire family to save your own
You know, he
ass.
made a point to come up and shake my hand and
Goddamn
introduce
lucky Abby's
himself
still
and
alive.
tell him how much he loved the part. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Look, I bought you some time back there with that cop to get your story straight. But you're out of time.
Chris Krause, the guy who plays his partner Farron, I think he's a pretty well-respected stage actor with the drama department. Does a lot of Shakespeare.
Trying to protect her. It was your only option and you took it.
Pretty funny guy, too.
You had to make a choice. If you'd have talked, Bobby would have killed you on his way out of town. You know it and I know it. That's your defense.
You know, I already mentioned it once, but
Saved them.
Dave should definitely just take
Could've saved
this
them.
whole scene and use it as his demo reel for his next gig. You know, next time he wants to audition for another movie.
What do you mean?
So I do think this is his best scene in the whole film.
I helped you out of a few jams in the past and you thought I could stop it.
You serious?
Called me for help. You trusted me to take down Bobby and his crew, but I let you down. I let you down because I didn't believe you. Just another one of Trent's crazy stories and I didn't want to listen. It's my fault because I didn't stop it.
Why would you do that for me? You don't even know me.
I know you're not a killer. Just by looking at you.
They won't believe it.
Your hand was forced. Bobby made you help him kill those people. Right before you came to my place to turn yourself in. You told me the whole story. How Bobby wanted revenge, you owed him some dead bodies, and if you didn't deliver, he'd kill you. Just tell the truth, everything you told me. We're gonna have to go in. Together.
So this is supposed to be Pat Thomas baseball field. There's a lot of little nods to my hometown of Leesburg, Florida. Waterman Hospital, Pat Thomas Field.
It was the picturesque home
Some other little
for
things I
20
threw in the
years
script
sat
here and there.
undisturbed in
My
a
girlfriend
place
seemed to
that
get a
most
kick
little
out of that.
girls could only dream of. With horses, green pastures, and a white picket fence, for Richard and Helen Sams, it was the perfect place for them to raise their 3 children. But last night, their perfect dream came to a devastating end. At approximately 3:30 this morning, the police pulled 6 bodies from these woods. The bodies of Richard and Helen Sams, their 2 children, Rebecca and Richard Jr., and Richard's brother Gary Sams and his wife Nikki. Police would make this grisly discovery.
And here we have Katie reacting
First-hand testimony from 17-year-old
for a good 2 minutes.
Abigail Sams. At 1:15,
Just watching and reacting.
admitted to Waterman Medical Center after
It was a difficult part, not having a whole lot of dialogue to work with.
an over-the-counter sleeping pill.
Just having to use your eyes and
Boyfriend
face.
most likely gave her the drug that rendered her unconscious.
But she has a very animated face. She's really good at that.
Police are saying that it was while Abby
Kind of squinting and
that Trent Wise
twitching and
savagely murdered his girlfriend.
all that kind of physical acting.
In a bizarre twist to the story, Wise was later found dead in the parking lot of Pat Thomas baseball field from an apparent suicide. Police claim he was killed by a single gunshot wound under the chin. The weapon used was a .38 revolver found in Wise's right hand. Wise was discovered in the passenger seat of his Honda Accord at 8:30 this morning, and according to lead investigator Martin Crow, the car reeked of alcohol. It was apparent that Wise had been in the parking lot for some time before deciding to end his own life. As you can see here, Pat Thomas baseball field sits directly across the street from Waterman Medical Center, where Abby Sams was being treated.
Thanks for coming in, Raleigh.
So what's so important you couldn't tell me over the phone? Okay, I'm confused.
This is another tense scene because you really feel the opposition that Niner faces with these guys. You got his captain. You have Detective Crow here, played by Lucas Cousins.
Is this true?
It's supposed to be his nemesis.
That I did.
Kind of like his biggest competition down at the department.
I'm saying she's mistaken.
And you have his girlfriend. So if you all 3 of these characters ganging up on him at the same time, pretty much accusing him of murdering Trent.
No, sir, the Trent Wise was at your apartment last night with a gun.
But in true Raleigh Niner style, he's already gotten his story straight. It's almost like he knew this was
Do
coming.
you also deny having spoken to Officer Burnett outside your place?
So it's basically a character trait that I created with Niner. He's always got a story, he's got an excuse,
From your apartment?
and he always manages to weasel his way out of it.
The young man with the gun that Miss Dennis saw was a friend of a robbery.
So again, you got more reactions from Katie.
You remember TJ? Well, earlier that evening, I witnessed a delinquent trying to create some havoc. Against my better judgment, I engaged in a physical altercation with the suspect. Things got out of hand.
This is another one of those
That's how we ended up
scenes in
the
the script that was really seemed,
TJ tells a friend what happened.
I don't know, something just didn't seem right. Something didn't click. As soon as you see it on screen, you see all these actors getting into it and adding their own little
was his name?
quirks and smiles and reactions.
I didn't ask.
It all worked out really great.
I'm taking him into custody. I spotted him a few hundred, told him to get lost, and told him to split the money with TJ.
Why would you do that?
Oh, with my impending trial, I figured TJ's testimony would only hurt my case.
So you beat the shit out of some punk and then paid him off. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Raleigh?
Yeah, I'm not proud of what happened, but it happened.
I'm gonna need this TJ sheet. And your word that you're gonna stay out of the Abby Sams case. And I better not hear about you pulling any more bullshit like last night. Got it?
You bet. Is that all?
You can go.
So here's my one and only cameo in NINER. I got my name written as the author of this article, Eric C. Dickson. I'm completely fine with that because I don't like being in front of a camera. So this is Carly's last scene in the movie. Katie's last scene.
Here, ready to talk?
And I always felt that I should have given her a bit more dialogue here, kind of like her final screw you to Raleigh. But I could just never seem to work out the dialogue. I think in the original script, she said something like, well, this will all catch up to you one day, but it's going to be too late. You know, everything sounded cliche and so forced that I cut most of that dialogue out. So what we ended up here is just her taking a drink and throwing it in his face. Audience seemed to like it.
It was an emotional night for everybody. You wanted to help that girl, but you couldn't. There was nothing you or anyone else could do to help. It was an absolutely terrible tragedy, and it didn't make any sense. Now her boyfriend's dead and people are still looking for someone else to blame and they got no goddamn clue as to why it happened. And people are pissed off and looking for answers. You want to know what happened? Abby Sams had her dipshit boyfriend murder her family. He felt guilty and then he ate a bullet. I think you know that. I think you know it and you can't accept it. You know, truth is, it's not me that can't let go, it's you. So why don't you let go and let the cops do what they get paid to do?
Bye, Katie. Good job.
The guy was a total loser.
Here's Uncle Steve and Aunt Cynthia. I think her name was Cynthia. Really beautiful camera shot. Probably with a jib arm of some sort. We gotta go up on Abby's face sitting on the stairs. Get the feeling that this is really the fact that everybody thinks that she murdered her family and she has her own aunt and uncle turning their back on her. It's all starting to take a toll on her. So this is the first time we see Abby, this a somewhat normal person. She's not in shock. She's pretty talkative. She's more alert. She's not crying. She's not passed out on the bathroom floor. She's just Abby. And I give a lot of credit to both her and Grant because of not only how she delivers this dialogue, but how the scene is shot. Has her back to Niner, kind of facing towards the audience. So we see her face and he doesn't.
Yeah, that's her.
And I can't tell you how many people came up to me after that first screening of Niner and told me that based on that scene alone, that they thought Abby had something to do with her family's murder.
Do you remember in the
Because Lindsay played it somewhere in the middle of scared and confused and disingenuous, as if she was trying to play Niner and believing she was this helpless victim.
Did you tell the other cops what we talked
But just little details in the scene, like her turning her back when she talks. We get a shot coming up where she kind of runs her fingers across Niner's gun. We just feel like there's something a little bit off about her, but we just don't know what.
I didn't want to believe that he was involved. I wanted a chance to ask him face to face. Before I gave away the
In just a moment, Abby's gonna officially ask Niner to kill these guys who she says is responsible. But are they responsible? So all we know up to this point is what Trent's told us.
Cops all think I set it up.
So it's really the little details that Grant and these actors added to the script that really elevated the material.
Why?
And this scene is a really great example of that.
I guess not.
Where you staying?
With my aunt and uncle. They think I'm guilty too.
You still haven't told me why you're here.
My Uncle Steve can't even look me in the eye. Those other two cops, Crow and Dees, they already decided that I'm guilty. I thought maybe it would be nice to talk to someone who didn't look at me like I killed somebody.
What if I told you I thought you were guilty?
I'd ask you to hear my side of the story first, before you made a decision.
Cops already have your side. What do you care what I think?
Look, I made a lot of dumb decisions.
Like dating Trent?
I dated the guy for over a year and I barely even knew him. I just wanted to get things right between my parents and us and stop all the drama, but now they're gone and I'll never get the chance. I want you to help me find the people responsible for that night.
Do you like pizza?
I hate it.
Great. I know this place makes really terrible pizza. You won't know the difference. What's that?
It's my dance practice schedule. Thinking about going again. Giving alcohol to an underage girl? Shame on you.
I figured you burned it. That'll be our little secret.
That's what they all say. That nurse, Carly, she told me that Trent came to see you the night he died.
That's why you came to see me?
She said that you took my phone from the house and that you contacted him. That you were the last person to see him alive. But the cops won't listen.
Yeah, that's because it's ridiculous. Now, contrary to what you may have read in the papers or seen on TV, I don't kill people in cold blood.
Then why would she say that?
We'll take her back to my place for an early breakfast. She had a few drinks in her. Yeah, she thinks she saw something she didn't see. She's an ER nurse, and sometimes I like to play detective, get too attached to patients. No, I didn't murder your boyfriend.
Why should I believe you?
Why should I believe you? Tell me, Abby, are the cops gonna find motive?
This is another really nice transition between scenes. So we get a glimpse of Abby's possible motive for having her family killed. She could have been pregnant with Trent's baby. And was she planning on running away with him? So that's kind of the idea that the cops are running with as the most probable motive. But again, you don't know if Abby is being genuine or not.
This is bullshit. She's just backtracking.
The stress of the whole thing. I miscarried. After that, I decided I was gonna end things with Trent. But then I kept putting it off. I think he knew towards the end that it was over. The way I was acting and all. But neither of us said anything.
So her boyfriend's dead. She sets him up with motive, denies her pregnancy and any plans she had of moving in with him.
And here we introduce Detective Malcolm Dees, played by Richard Bronson.
It seems our own Mr. Wise got a few texts from
Now, he was probably the most talkative of all the cast and crew, the most friendly.
8 minutes after the 5th text,
Him and Braden both, and Lindsay. Just the three of them were really great at coming up and giving me hugs and handshakes and let me know how much they appreciated the script and just the opportunity to be in Grant's movie. And I appreciated a lot of that because I didn't know what to expect coming up to Michigan and meeting such a close-knit group. Because they are, they're all like best friends, and I was this outsider that just flew up to watch and critique their movie. And I don't think they were thrilled about that at first, to be honest, but I loved the movie. And they could see that I loved it, and they loved that I loved it. And it was like, by the end of the night, we were all best friends. It was great. You could definitely see a difference and feel the difference in how I was treated before the movie screened and how I was treated after the movie. It's definitely a different vibe. Not that I was, ever mistreated. Everybody was super friendly and great. But you could tell they were nervous about, like, oh, is the writer going to hate the movie? And, hope that doesn't kill everybody's high, But no, not only did I love the movie, I thought it was, even that much better than the script. Because there was things in the script I never liked. I was like, well, I'm not sure this is ever going to make a good movie, but, well, you never know. Here we got Mason Heidger and Dan Allward playing a couple stoners, kind of a comic relief in the movie.
Sorry, Bobby. Bears be here any minute. Want a beer?
Thought that guy was gonna shit himself. Did you see that? God.
Nice job with the knife, by the way. How much you got over there, you think?
Looks like you boys made quite the score tonight. Must have been quite the party. Funny I wasn't invited.
I thought this was a pretty good scene here. It's my girlfriend's favorite scene in the movie. So we see for the first time that Bobby kind of wears the pants out of this relationship. This Jason character, as tough as he appears on the outside, is really intimidated by Bobby because he's the most Bobby's the most insane and irrational of the crew. Even though Jason looks like he could maybe take him in a fight, he's that much more frightened of Bobby.
Why would I say anything? I don't know. Why would you?
No, the purpose of this scene was not only to show Bobby's intent of killing Abby, but to see Jason really get so hopping mad that we know that at some point he'll be willing to turn on Bobby if given the right opportunity. And he does get the right opportunity. In just a second here, we
I'm thinking you got a big mouth. You talk too much. Maybe I should
have NINER pop up behind his car trunk and surprise him.
you don't make a move without me telling you. You don't leave this house. You don't rob.
So I was afraid, I don't know, that was given this appearance of NINER coming up, that was going to be too much of a giveaway of what was going to take place between Jason and NINER. But I don't know, I don't think people picked up on it. There may have been a few people that picked up on, you know, what was eventually going to happen. But it is one of the nicer surprises in the script. When I first wrote the script, you know, when NINER kind of pops up out of nowhere, holding the gun. You're kind of like, okay, what's going to happen next? What's he going to do with this kid? Is he going to kill him? Is he going to make him hand over the others? What's his real motive here?
Yeah, hold it there, tough guy.
I like this cut to black here, and the slow fade in on the court trial. It was actually written into the script that way. You can really tell how close Grant stuck to the script. It was really respectful of the screenplay, and just the little things that I put in the script for specific reasons that he understood right away. Why there are certain breaks, cut to blacks, fade-ins. But he kept that in there. It was nice. It was a nice transition between that and the courtroom.
One that is very black and white. Cop versus convict. The upstanding, law-abiding keeper of the peace versus the wife-beating criminal. But Raleigh NINER sits here today for one reason only. The eyewitness account of Justin Herrera.
So this is Keely Bond, I believe it's pronounced. Bond. B-O-H-N. As Assistant District Attorney Laura Starkey, and then you have Troy Cronkright as Dave Mac Magruder. It's kind of a screw-up police-appointed attorney, kind of like a public defender. Now, of all the performances I was looking forward to the most, it were these two characters, because I really thought physically they looked like the part. Especially Troy. So this was some of my favorite stuff, all the courtroom stuff. And that's my favorite genre. I love The Verdict. I love all the Sidney Lumet films from the 70s, 60s and 70s. 12 Angry Men. Anatomy of a Murder, that's one of my favorite movies.
During the course of this trial, we will be carefully examining the lives.
I want to say I got the idea for NINER after watching Presumed Innocent with Harrison Ford. Just the idea of a nice murder mystery, kind of going back and forth in between this courtroom drama. Really good movie, one of my favorite movies.
Starts getting all upset, shaking his head and staring back at these kids.
And did you ask him what his problem was?
Says to me the only thing worse than a nigger with money.
Now at this point we're trying to get just a little feel about who this guy NINER is. What's his background?
And how did he say it?
Is he good? Is he bad?
Just say something. Then he says if they don't turn down the music, he put a bullet in their speaker.
What was your response to that?
At first I thought he was joking.
What changed your mind?
Pulls his piece out and sticks it on the dash.
And I like the gray area of this scene because here's one of his old partners that's pretty much telling everybody, oh, he's a bigot, he's this, he's that. He's on drugs, he's doing all these terrible, disgusting things. Then you come to find out that, well, this is Raleigh's way of testing people. Like, are they going to be on board with how he does things?
Your witness.
So you don't really quite know if he is this horrible bigot that they're saying he is, or if he's really testing his partners. He's testing to see how much they're willing to back his play. Or are they going to turn and rat him out the first chance they get?
Let me refresh you. Spoke with an officer.
You know, but he's an unorthodox cop. He has different ways of doing things. So that could very well be plausible that he's trying to train some of these young guys, but there's a part of us that's saying, no, he's... there might really be a bad guy here that we don't know about yet. So I like the gray area of this character. It was really fun to kind of let the audience decide what's true and what isn't.
He said that sounds just like Raleigh. When he was his training officer, he did the same thing to him.
That wasn't all he said. What else did he say?
Objection. Officer Diaz has already answered the question.
Overruled. Come on, Diaz. A fellow officer is on trial here for his life. A fellow boy in blue, speak up!
Objection. Badgering.
Sustained.
My apologies. Could you please answer the question?
I think it's safe to say, just from watching some of this courtroom stuff, that all of these actors, you're going to see him in other stuff. And I'm just waiting for this guy Troy to blow up. Really good. He's really perfect for this part. He's a pretty nice guy, too.
He was out of control. Answer the question, yes or no. Do you believe Raleigh NINER is a racist?
Yes.
Thank you. No more, Your Honor.
Miss Starkey, do you have any more for this witness?
Officer Diaz, do you agree with Sergeant Diego's assessment of Raleigh NINER? That his erratic behavior is just part of some unusual training method?
No, I did not. And I do not.
And why is that?
He was high as a kite.
Objection. My client has been subject to...
Well, I'm sure inevitably there's going to be somebody that watches this movie and say, yeah, it's pretty good, but they're going to get to the courtroom scenes and go, well, that's not accurate. That's not correct court procedure. And that's not when you object, and you're objecting for the wrong reasons and so forth. But
Would you please walk us through Raleigh NINER's behavior on...
you know, I tried to do the best that I could with it. You know, I'm not terribly expert in legal procedure, just what I've seen on TV and other movies. But I think as a piece of fiction, it works all right.
A cocaine addict?
Objection. Leading.
Withdrawn. No further questions.
They've got no physical evidence. Starkey's trying to woo the jury, calling you a racist. That's the lowest common denominator. A cry for the desperate. The jury can see that.
So this elevator scene coming up was more or less written as a transition scene between the first day of court to NINER finally going to see Bobby. The thing is, he needed to have a really good reason to get Bobby involved. It had to be his last resort. Kind of like he knew he was going to lose if he didn't. So I think it's at this point where he sees his own lawyer kind of turning on him that he finally decides, you know, it was time to get Bobby involved.
Herrera, the hell do you think?
What I believe isn't important. It's what I can prove. What the hell are you doing?
what a jury believes is important. Do you believe her?
Don't be so paranoid.
This is probably the best camera work in the whole movie. Just a lot of really nice camera shots. A lot of really nice, fluid, slow motion kind of tracking shots showing Niner walking towards the house, sneaking around the house. A couple of really good POV shots coming up. This is a great shot right here too. Now this house here, funny enough, I based this house on a friend of mine's house that lives in Orlando, downtown Orlando. So the way that I describe the house in the script and the way that, well, the house that you see in the film, it's almost identical. It's kind of weird looking. I mean, it's the exact replica of this house that I based it on.
That grill about done yet?
Lead homicide detective Mark McCroll reported today that the forensic evidence recovered from all 6 victims does not yet confirm or negate Abby Sam's claim of a 4-man job. Whew. Looks like you and Scotty and Jason are still in the clear.
And our story all comes together here as Raleigh faces off with Bobby.
Writing a book?
There's a lot of telling and not showing here, again, which a lot of the readers that first read Niner, that first draft of Niner, they had a lot of issue with it. But you know, I thought it was appropriate for the scene, because this is the point in the story that he's telling Bobby, you know, he's pretty much got him by the balls.
Sit down, relax.
And he's got a way out for both of them. The dialogue here was important to kind of surmise everything else that's happened up to this point, so it's kind of explaining the plot in a way. So some people might say it's kind of a cheat, but I think the scene works. I like all the little reveals to the audience. I think they enjoyed it. And I like the idea that these two guys, Raleigh and Bobby, they already have this rapport, like they've known each other for a while. Kind of like Bobby was just, you know, waiting for the day that Niner shows up on his doorstep, and he's finally here.
What can I say?
Good exchange of dialogue between these actors. You could tell that both of them really relished the scene and were looking forward to it. You can tell they're having fun with it.
What does she do?
This is also the first scene where we really see Niner acting kind of creepy and suspicious and intimidating.
It was a complicated situation.
Yeah, it took me a while.
And we know there's something kind of manipulative about him. So the wheels are starting to turn for the audience, and we don't quite trust this guy anymore like we did.
Maybe she wanted to keep you on the DL until he came through.
Maybe.
Then I thought, nah. So I did some more digging. You want to hear? It's a good story.
I'm a sucker for good stories.
About a year ago, Christmas, your brothers and 3 best friends were gunned down at a police raid at your brother Jackie's meth lab. You see, there was this rat locked up in county on a possession charge looking to cut a deal. His name was Trent Wise. Maybe you heard of him.
Maybe I have. So what? You looking to write my life story?
Of course, there's nothing you could do about it at the time. Just finished a nickel at Stark for Grand Theft Auto. On parole. You're on your best behavior.
That's me. I'm clean now. Haven't you heard? Crime doesn't pay. You should know that. You used to be a cop.
So you followed Trent and his friend Scotty to Mount Pleasant. But you decided that you still needed 6 cold bodies, and not just anyone. Somebody close to him. Like a brother. Maybe even a girlfriend.
That is quite the story.
You looking to arrest me now? Oh. That's right, you can't. They took your gun and your badge. Last I heard, you were quite the menace to society.
Doesn't mean my report can't find its way into the right hands after my trial's over. Does it?
Raul and my relationship was more...
And we go straight to Bobby on the stand. No discussion about it, which is good because I think that would have ruined the effect of, first seeing him in court. So it comes like more of a surprise for the audience.
Objection! The state is not
And I don't think a lot of people saw this coming, so it was a kind of a nice payoff. But you got a sense from the audience at that premiere screening that the story was really working by this point.
Sustained. Let's move on, counsel.
Mr. Vandenkemp, would you walk us through how you and Justine Herrera came into first contact?
It was pretty simple, really. I came to Raul's to do a quick deal. Justine was there. She caught my attention, and I caught hers. You could say it was an instant attraction.
And when did the two of you finally get together?
One night I was over, and Raul slipped in the other room to grab some cash. That's when Justine gave me her number. I called her the second we could both get away. That was that. We saw each other off and on for about 3 weeks.
And when did the two of you finally call it quits?
Around the time Raul went into the hospital. Justine didn't think it would be a good idea for us to see each other when he was out of commission.
Would you walk us through the night of February 14th? Starting about 30 minutes before Raul Ortega fell from his 3rd-story balcony.
The night in question, I show up at Raul's place while he's at work. Justine's got a black eye. Tells me he hit her. So I call him up. Tell him if he does it again, I'll rearrange his face. I got this thing with wife beaters. Raul is known to raise a hand or two.
Objection!
Sustained. From now on, the witness will stick strictly to the facts of the night in question. We will hear no opinion, conjecture, any other half-baked attempts at distraction or misleading of these facts. The defense has been warned once already. This is twice. There will be no third time. If I were you, counselor, I think very, very carefully about my next steps.
My apologies. And following this phone conversation, did you and Raul ever speak again?
No. Never got the chance. Wish I had.
And where were you when Raul Ortega returned to his apartment?
When he showed up, I was finishing up in the bathroom. I heard this commotion coming from the living room. Justine was screaming.
Are you kidding me? How did you do this to me?
Wait, let me explain.
So I pulled my gun, ready to go out there and blow Raul in half. That's why I hear a voice.
Hey! Give me your goddamn knees.
So I look out to see what the hell's going on. That's when I see Officer Niner holding his gun on Raul.
Officer Niner was holding his weapon on Raul Ortega. And did he attempt to detain Mr. Ortega?
Yes, he did. He tells Raul to turn and face the wall, only he's not listening. He's yelling and cussing, poking his finger in Officer Niner's direction, madder than hell, and hopped up on something.
You killed him! You son of a bitch!
He asked him again, "Get down or I put you down."
So this was Niner's way of asking Raul to put his hands on his head and surrender. And off the balcony he goes. There's proof right there in the mirror, which I didn't see the first 2 times watching this movie. So we see for the first time that Niner did in fact kill Raul, who he blames for his partner's death. And it's a crime that any one of us could have committed. It would have been wrong, but it doesn't mean it couldn't happen. So, it's definitely, you can see the sadness and anger in his face in that scene, the way Dave played it. Made it more of a sympathetic character, to a point. Because, you know, he just lost his partner, his best friend. He's got kids at home, a wife. You know, for what? For this idiot, high on drugs, you know, smacking his girlfriend around.
Ready to kill, in fact. And now you're here testifying in defense of the man she claimed murdered.
But, you know, we just heard all this testimony that Niner's a drug addict. He's this lunatic, you know, out of his mind. He's violent. He's a bigot. He's this, he's that. So we really don't know at this point, like, is he just a violent, you know, maniac? Or did he, you know, was this an accidental death? Did he accidentally fall off the balcony during a struggle?
Miss Herrera never mentioned anyone being in the apartment on the night of the 14th. How do you explain this?
So we're really most likely to believe it was a revenge killing, or...
I was on up the road. Cops find out I'm running with Raul. I go back in and do another 5.
You know, he really is somebody that's
I'm sorry, Mr.
all coked out of his mind and violent. It was kind of like another day on the job for this guy. But we just don't know yet, and the audience doesn't really know how to feel about him.
Under oath that you not only went to Raul Ortega's apartment, but you pulled a gun on a police officer?
When I found out that Raul was still alive in the hospital, I knew there was a chance he'd pull through. Thought maybe the cops had questioned him before he passed away. He drops my name, and that's all she wrote. So I thought I'd turn myself in before I got picked up.
That is quite the story, Mr. Vandenkamp.
Look, he had him dead bang. Raul panicked and jumped. I don't know what to tell you. It's what happened.
Hey. Congratulations.
Okay, so Niner is officially off the hook. Not a care in the world, and we see a more different side of him that we've seen before. More of a carefree version of himself. He's a little cocky, a little arrogant, maybe a bit sexist.
Now who will speak for her?
You know, he's all those things that we feared he might be.
This isn't about me.
You know, at the same time, we still want to see Bobby go down. We still want to see Jason go down. There's still good guys and bad guys in the story. No matter how bad this guy Raleigh is, these other guys are a lot worse. So, you know, we're going to stick with him until the inevitable face-off between him and the 2 bad guys, even if we don't like him.
That's great, Raul. Uglier words were never
Most of the initial reviews I got of the screenplay a couple years back was people really enjoyed that gray area of trying to choose sides between characters. you know, really not liking this guy at all. Like, nothing about him they liked. But, you know, they were willing to side with him until justice was served. They said, you know, they hated themselves for, you know, coming to like this character that they really hate, but they thought it was a different enough twist to call the script different, and it was different than a lot of, you know, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy, all that kind of basic good and evil type stories. This was a little bit different.
About our recital on August 8th. Tickets are $5, so start selling those as soon as possible. We want a full house. We'll be hanging up posters this weekend. Oh, and don't forget to go see the show this weekend. Have a great day, girls.
And here comes Crow and Dees, and we see Abby looking a little bit nervous, not knowing what she's in for. But there was a really nice shot of her watching the two cops walking towards her. It's like another tip to the audience that she may actually be involved in more than what we think she is.
Hello, Abby. We've got some new developments concerning your family's case. Can we talk for a minute?
Of course. I just
Like this moment coming up when she sees Bobby's mugshot for the first time.
We have some pictures for you to look at.
You see a nice flashback of Bobby back at the farm. Him and Jason together.
Mostly small-time petty criminal types.
But lo and behold, she keeps it from the cops. She doesn't tell them about Bobby. So we don't quite know why yet, not until a couple scenes later, when we start to kind of piece it all together.
The one I saw with Trent.
Where?
In the backyard. He was one of the 4 men I saw. His name is Scotty.
Scott Perry. Heard of him?
Trent talked about him a couple of times.
About?
Crazy shit they used to do. I don't know much about him.
You see, Trent and Scotty disappeared around the same time. Trent, we know, migrated here to Mount Pleasant, but Scotty...
You don't know where he is.
Flint PD make it a weekly habit of picking this kid up.
Brawling, petty theft, assault. Until he graduated to attempted murder. A few days after Trent's folks died, in a suspicious car accident, Perry does a drive-by with his old man's shotgun. Only he misses.
This was his intended target. Fearing he would retaliate, Scotty skips town. The target's name was Bobby Van Dam Kemp. Ring any bells?
I don't know him. Should I?
What I'm saying is this. You identified Perry's picture, and we know he came up here and hooked back up with Trent. That means there's a good chance Van Dam Kemp followed him here.
And you think he has something to do with my family?
If he did, then Scott Perry's life is definitely in danger. Now, if you have any idea where we might find him, you need to tell us.
He killed my family. Don't you think if I knew, I would have told you?
Oh, come on, Abby. You have to know something.
We've been over this 1,000 times. I didn't get a good look at them. It was dark.
It's okay. But just think. The short time you and Trent were together, did he take you to see any of his friends? Take you anywhere you're not familiar with? Anything that could help us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about all the questions. I know it's a bad time for you. Actually, I don't know. I'll never know what you're feeling inside, but know that Mount Pleasant's finest is on the job.
He's right about that.
And as good as I am, I'm gonna need some help picking up this guy's slack. That's all we want from you, Abby. Help. We wouldn't be here if we didn't.
We went to this motel once to buy weed. Trent told me to stay in the car. He said this friend of his was kind of paranoid. He didn't want anyone seeing him he didn't know.
Did he give you a name?
No. I remember I thought it was funny he lived in a motel.
Is that what Trent told you? He lived in a motel?
He had just gotten into town. He hadn't been here long. He was still looking for a place to stay.
You remember which motel it was?
Did you see her face? She has no idea who Vandenkamp is.
If your family was just killed at your sister's birthday party, you wouldn't exactly be on top of current events.
Good point.
Okay, so Niner blackmails Bobby Vandenkamp into testifying at his trial. Trent Wise would have ratted out Vandenkamp thinking we would cut him a deal. Only Niner blows Trent away before he has the chance to talk. Niner was saving Bobby all to himself.
It was a good plan, I'll give him that.
Niner was thinking the same thing.
What are the odds Niner's planning on letting this Vandenkamp breathe?
About the same odds as this Scotty Perry still being alive. Not good.
Now, this was my least favorite scene in the script by far because it was meant to be funny and it just never really was. Like I would read it over and over trying to, you know, figure out what wasn't working and what we could have changed. Was it the jokes? You know, what was it? Something just wasn't working. But he shot it, you know, verbatim straight out of the script, and it turns out it was everybody's favorite scene in the movie. Because of this guy, this actor, Tim Connors. Just really, really funny. So all the jokes worked. Also thought this was a good way to get Crow and Dees to Calvin's house with a lot of unneeded running around and investigating and all that, you know, cop show cliches and all that stuff. We didn't really have time to show them doing all that. So there needed to be an easy way to find Bobby and Jason. And this was kind of a nice, kind of a funny way to get them into Calvin's house. A lot faster.
Yeah, he's my neighbor. I could tell you some stories. There was the cops doing a standoff on his lawn this one time. He had a knife to his girlfriend's neck. He threatened to cut her head off. It must have been there for 2 hours. Drugs must have worn off. Crazy ass bastard.
So where is this place?
So it's right across the street from my house. It's a big white house, old as hell, about ready to fall apart. But just like me, can't miss it.
If you could just write down the address for us.
Could you guys do me a favor? If there's gonna be any gunplay, call me in advance so I know to stay out of Dodge.
Now we're back to Uncle Steve's house. Abby seems pretty worked up about something. She's got a newspaper under her bed. She's obviously hiding. And there's Bobby. This is the point where Abby figures out that Niner is definitely hiding something from her. Now she knows that he's involved in her family's murder, but really doesn't know why yet. So grabs Uncle Steve's gun. And off she goes to go pay Raleigh a visit.
Raleigh? Niner?
Feel that?
Feel what?
Trouble.
Just watch your ass.
You watch my ass. How the hell can anyone hear with music so loud?
That bastard's in there, I know it.
And here's our buddy Jonas, still smoking cigarettes on the couch. That's what he does. He smokes cigarettes and sits on the couch. He was a really fun character to write for, and once I saw this performance and this actor, I wish that I had written a couple more scenes with him and maybe made him more of a...
We know they were staying here.
you know, an important character in the script somehow. He was really funny. He really nailed this part. And that is, of course, is Mason Heidger as Jonas. When I first heard they were going to film NINER, I Facebooked a friend of mine that lives in Lansing. I said, man, I wrote this part for this guy that's... he looks just like you and sounds just like you. You got to audition for this thing. Well, you know, it was like a 2-hour drive, 3-hour drive to get to Mount Pleasant, and he probably figured it was just a dumb student film, and, you know, why bother? So, oh well, but this guy I thought was great.
You haven't seen him, and you don't know nothing. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know, partner. Smells like bullshit to me.
It is definitely ripe in here.
Well, I'm very sorry, officers, but as you can see, we got kind of a revolving door around this place. Do me a favor, cop.
What's that?
If you see Calvin, tell him his half of the rent's late.
I'll tell you what. Why don't I come back when your mind's a little less foggy?
I still won't know shit. But suit yourselves. You're welcome.
We'll be seeing you.
The officers have a good night.
He's lying. Little shit knows where they are.
Yeah, I had that feeling.
Just a matter of time before one of those turds comes back.
So what now?
Now, we wait.
I was afraid you were gonna say that.
Who the hell was that kid?
I don't know. Let me look at the file. See if he's in Farron's known associates.
Next page. That name looks kind of familiar.
Yeah, but they didn't say anything in there, so...
He has to have some sort of criminal record.
And there goes Detective Dees. Apparently dead. Although he might not be dead. I guess we'll have to find out in the inevitable sequels. But sorry, Lucas, I guess Crow is definitely dead.
Changing plans, Slick. No more running. The cops are gonna be all over your ass. You wanna tell me where you are, or you wanna go back to prison?
Shut your mouth and listen. I got a little friend here of yours that you might want to talk to.
Short brown hair, green eyes, about 17, real pretty. Say your name.
Abby Sams.
Where are you?
First things first, I want to find out how bad you want it.
What are you talking about? Tell me where you are.
We tried things your way.
And here we are getting close to the end of the film with the inevitable confrontation between Jason and Bobby that we should have seen coming at this point. I know once we see Jason with Abby, I'm pretty sure most everybody knew it was going to be a trap set up by NINER somehow. So they agree to meet at the secluded lake to exchange the money.
She'll turn you
which is a really good place to dispose of some quick bodies. Just saying. Here comes Raleigh. Surprise, surprise.
Stop right there. Drop that piece. You know better than that, Jason.
This is not so fast, P. Diddy. That seemed to get a few laughs in the theater. So here he shoots Jason with Bobby's gun. And in just a second, he's going to have Bobby go pull Abby out of the back seat. Tells him pretty much, I'm not going to kill you, but we're going to let her decide what happens to you.
Did you really think I was gonna let you and the girl go, Kyle? You must think I'm pretty stupid.
Pretty much. Bad news. You shot your partner in front of a witness. It's gonna be pretty hard to get out of this one. Guess we're just gonna have to put you out of your misery.
There's no reason you can't just take the money and run. Tell the girl I got away. They took your badge.
So Bobby's smart enough to know that there's something fishy going on here. It's probably a setup. Grabs Farron's gun, puts one into Bobby, down he goes.
She can see the man who murdered her family face to face. Then she can decide what happens to you. Come on. What are you waiting for?
Now this Bobby's death scene here is kind of an homage to Dirty Harry, with the dead body flying into the lake. I knew at some point I was going to steal from Dirty Harry, and here it is.
So many shitheads like you, I lost count, Bobby.
So here's the big payoff we've been waiting for. Abby gets to pull the trigger. Kind of like Niner's reward for putting her through all this mess.
That's why I'm not going to take any pleasure in killing you.
This is I'll tell mommy and daddy you said hi. It's kind of Braden's little addition to the script I thought was really cool. And so much for Bobby.
Makes you just as dumb as I am, cop.
Come get it, Abby. Just like I promised.
So our story has wrapped itself up in a nice, clean package, and Niner is officially in the free and clear. Abby gets her revenge, everybody's happy.
Remember what I said? 10 more minutes and then call the cops.
I got it.
You got your story straight?
I got it. I'll be fine. Raleigh. Thank you.
Now these newspaper headlines were originally meant for Carly, Kind of a nice way to bring her character back into the story. I think in the first script she's standing in a gas station buying some crackers and a banana for work, and she sees these two headline stories and picks them up.
You want to see me?
I think Grant thought it made better sense to have Captain Drydeck read the articles instead. It's kind of a nice segue into this final scene between these two characters.
You do know.
I think he's right. I think it works a little bit better this way.
Inquiry into your involvement with Bobby Vandenkamp?
Yeah, I figured as much. Don't think they're gonna get too far, though.
No, me either. These guys had one hell of a rap sheet. Magruder had some balls putting him on the stand. Funny how he just came forward like that. Almost as if he was coerced.
Something you want to ask me, Hal?
Look, no one's shedding any tears over Farron, or Vandenkamp, or Trent Wise. But I got 2 cops dead. And to tell you the truth, I don't know what I'm gonna tell their families.
Same thing I told Chris's wife. They're cops. It comes with a job.
What if that's not good enough?
It has to be.
I'm glad you feel that way, Raleigh. Just remember that the next time you're drawing down on an unarmed suspect, especially one that lives in a 3rd-floor apartment. Save yourself a whole hell of a lot of trouble.
Yes, sir.
Just one more thing. Did you shoot Trent Wise?
And here the captain asks him the number 1 question in the story. Did you kill Trent Wise?
Stay close to home, Molly.
In just a second, we're going to find out what happened. And here we are back at Pat Thomas Field.
Trent Wise dead.
The night that Trent died, back at Trent's car.
Use my one and only chance.
Raleigh steps out with the bottle.
My name in the clear, I could do more good for Abby Sams than I could rotting away in jail. The hell good
Nice
about
little
that?
voiceover of his thoughts of that night. What he was planning on doing with Trent.
You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Here's this whole plan wrapped up in a few lines of dialogue here, explaining the rest of the story.
Judgment, I decided to let the little bastard live and take my chances with the jury. At least, that was the plan.
Kyle, you see the gunshot. So Trent did in fact kill himself.
Decided there was only one way out.
But as the dialogue suggested there, it could have gone the other way.
That kid blowing his brains out might have been the best thing that ever happened to him.
But whether Niner is good or bad, in the end, it all comes down to what was best for Abby, as we hear in this final voiceover from Niner.
Would we have ever caught Bobby?
So in the end, justice does prevail, the bad guys go down, and all is well in the world.
Ask Abby Sams what she thinks about it.
And here are Abby's dance partners dropping by to pick her up for some kind of dance recital or competition. And we see our horses from the beginning of the story. All the darkness has faded away. Everything is bright and happy. And that's that. Thanks for listening. I really hope that you enjoyed Niner, and hopefully we will be bringing it to an even bigger audience in the future. Take care.